Yeah, first of all, the first second I was thinking maybe it's my students that are making a prank on me again because I did that a couple of years ago. But then immediately I could hear that this was actually serious and this was the Nobel Prize, and I was very, very surprised and very proud. I was actually in the middle of recording videos when they called me from Stockholm for the students, right? And so it was completely unexpected, and it was a very big surprise. It has been a very positive period between then and now, and one of the things that I really want to use the prize for is the stimulation of chemistry amongst young people, because I think that we really have to change the way that we are educating our people in order to take care of the challenges that are ahead of us.
You know that Napoleon used to say, if a soldier doesn't want to be a general, he's not a good soldier, and become a famous sentence in the battlefield. But in the battlefield of science, don't you think that you should think of Nobel Prize?
No, I don't think so at all. I think in science, if you have the ambition to get a Nobel Prize, you will never get it. I think that what drives science and what should drive science is actually curiosity and interest. So for me personally, I have had a great interest in nature since I was a child. I was taken by my parents through the forest, and we were collecting everything you can collect in nature and naming it and so on. And that gave me the interest for science and chemistry in particular, because chemistry is everything around us. You are chemistry, I am chemistry, your camera is chemistry, everything is chemistry here.
Are your parents, like teachers, or what is their profession?
So my mother was a teacher and my father was directing a company.
So they don't have chemistry background?
No chemistry background in the family at all.
How did you make your strong interest in chemistry?
As I said, it came from the interest in nature. And then when I was actually at the engineering school in Copenhagen, it's a technical university, and there I had the choice between computer science, physics or chemistry. And
yes, what makes you select chemistry
The
then?
selection of chemistry was because I was just looking around and everything, as I said, is chemistry. So I'm very lucky that I took that choice and made that choice, because I think that you can use that philosophically to think about everything, including ethics and politics and so on.
So you have a chemistry with chemistry.
Yeah, it's a click chemistry.
Mm-hmm. But for the young people, how do you make them sort of interested in this deep research? Is it always very interesting?
No, because we're teaching the young people completely wrongly today. The young people have an amazing ability to store images. So if you think about it and you think back to your own childhood, you can remember your childhood in terms of images, right? Much better than what happened 2 weeks ago. And these images, we should really apply a ruled world which is about chemistry, how the chemistry works, how the atoms are, what molecules they build and so on, how these works, what is acids and bases. All of that can be taught by animation. And I think we should do that from first grade without all the rules of how mass balance is and quantitative measures in chemistry, just the images of what happens, so that we can build this internal world in the minds of the young people. That will create an enormous interest for chemistry. And I think this interest is really, really important if we want to solve some of the greater problems that we are facing.
That means you must have a lot of experiment for the young ones from very beginning, maybe.
No, I'm mainly doing this research that we are doing in the group, but I do go out and tell the young people. I had a meeting with something called the Science Club in Copenhagen recently, where we are talking to 4th to 5th grade students, and they were really, really interested. These were actually selected ones, and when I come back from here, the first thing I have is a talent, a young talent from high school, kind of who is the best award, and we are going to give out the prizes for that. So these kind of things are very important, and I think we should really try to establish that with the young people. But mostly grow their curiosity, grow their admiration for nature, and how can we conserve and be sustainable in this world, because that is really, really required. Now we are almost 8 billion people in the world that have to share the resources and so on. And I think we should really learn how to do that, because otherwise we are going to kill each other.
But how far is it between a ordinary chemist, expert or researcher and the Nobel Prize winner?
You mean if everybody does fantastic chemistry? I mean, researchers in particular, they do their best, and they should not be controlled as they are today. We heard today from the Swedish Academy of Sciences that the governments are mixing in too much, and I totally agree with that. I think we have, we are making blue skies ideas for 5 years ahead, not changing that research in 5 years, just going ahead with it. I think it's completely wrong way to fund research. We should much rather look at what did you do the last couple of years. Was that good? Then we give you a lot of money and you can do whatever you want with it. Because that is where the good ideas come, and that is where the good research that really leads to great inventions will be produced.
But how do you understand that? I mean, the persistence or hard working, or you think it's just by chance to have the invention, or is it long-term persistent? And
it's both. And I think that the most important things that happens is that you go into the laboratory, you actually physically work with this stuff, and you are finding that something odd is happening. And if you pursue that odd thing which is happening, you are probably going to discover something new, maybe even something very useful. So I think that's where you should really be observant and try to pursue the things that you observe.
I think in your career, since we have usually 3 Nobel laureates, so you must have cooperate with other colleagues. Tell us a little bit of experience of this cooperation with other colleagues. How did you do that? And
I received the prize together with Barry Sharpless and Karin Bertozzi, but we have never really collaborated. What we have done is I've been friends with them for a long period of time. I met Caroline already when she was just finished with her studies, and we had long talks about, carbohydrate chemistry and where she was going with that, where I was going with that. And we have followed each other's work along the way, but we have never really collaborated.
But you know each other's research areas,
yes, very well.
And do you use each other as reference or anything?
Yes, of course. All chemists build on other shoulders on other chemists, and I think that we always try to be very fair in our references.
Mm-hmm. Maybe tell us something which is very interesting or impressive or whatever in your life story in terms of the chemistry discovery.
Yeah, so this is just one of the many things that we have worked on, the click chemistry. We have developed a set of chemistries which have led to a large number of publications, which is called ENIAC, or intramolecular inositol reactions, in which we can transform quite complex peptide-based molecules into pharmaceutically interesting heterocycles. So that chemistry, I think, is extremely interesting. It's not been like as general as the chemistry from Click, where we can take 2 things, we just have this little link that we are creating, everybody can do it. A lot of companies can make these small building blocks that click together. But the actual structural universe that we create with the other ENIAC reactions is really, really interesting in my opinion. So I think that you can look towards those kind of reactions as well. They are also quantitative and they are intermolecular, so they happen with very high, what is called stereoselectivity. We get only one molecule out in the end, and we can do these on solid support, so similar to doing peptide synthesis. So there's a lot of gain and advantages in these reactions, and we are still following them. So,
can you use simple words to tell us, our audience, so your discovery or invention, is it a methodology or is it something, how can be that contribute to our future?
I've always worked in methodology development, so I've always had an interest in solving problems and making good solutions to things that were difficult before. And this succeeded in many different fields for me, in carbohydrates, in glycopeptides, in peptide synthesis, in doing click reactions, in combinatorial chemistry. So in many different areas we have added something to the already existing technologies that makes them really feasible and easy to use.
Last, I'd like you to say something to the young people, maybe to the Chinese young people also.
First of all, follow your heart. That is very, very important. It's your interest, it's your knowledge that should form the basis for your career, not somebody else. So follow your heart and do whatever you can to get to the goal. But don't have the ambition, have the interest and the curiosity drive you.
Thank you very much.